happy holidays. How important was this Soto move to the future of this franchise in your mind?
Well, as you know, the future is always now. So 24 is our focus and trying to become that last team standing once again, as we've done in years gone by. That's the focus. So, that's really that's what the Yankees are all about. Is obviously how's it best to position us for 24, and how best generally to position us for our very next season.
Thank you.
Mary Phillips, please unmute.
Hey, Brian, I'm just curious if there's been any indication that Soto and Scott Boras would be willing to talk about an extension before he hits free agency. I know that's typically not what Boras clients do, but
Haven't had any conversations regarding that, so we understand that he's a free agent at the end of this term, but we understand that it's a possible short-term situation, and I know he's just going to make our team significantly better. But it's not going to be just him. We got to continue working at what else we can add to this roster.
and then it also seemed like, just through reports yesterday that there seemed to be some delays with medicals or other holdups in the deal. Was there anything that the Padres took issue with or raised red flags about yesterday?
No, I just think teams need to be thorough. They had more players going back their way, and at the same time, I think AJ's a very busy man. He's got a lot of balls in the air in one case, but he was also at the same time, presenting a Scout of the Year award. So there's when you have your doctors, your trainers, and their availability, and then you have to match up with your availability. It just it kind of delays the process a little bit. So no, everything was all good. It's just everybody, I think, being thorough. It's a big, like anything else. Like you want to be thorough on small deals, but you need to be even more thorough on the bigger deals too, to make sure everybody knows what they're getting.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Brendan Cuddy, go ahead.
Cash, thanks for taking the time. Two questions. First, how intentionally will you guys be trying to recruit Juan and hope that he stays with you guys for a long term?
Well, we ultimately want the culture we have with the Yankees that we project constantly is our intent to win. We're here, we're in it to win it. So that's messaging that's constantly being reinforced. And we also want to, protect and serve our players, put them in the best position to succeed, provide every opportunity or interest that they would have at their disposal so they can be successful. And then that in itself, and playing in front of one of the greatest fan bases in the world, all those things are selling points on their own. And then past that, we're not going to trick anybody. We're not going to be something we're not. We've got good people here. Whether it's manager, coaches, his new teammates, as well as our fans and the tri-state area. There's a lot to offer. So I think that's a recruiting beacon for anybody. I know the question specifically about Juan Soto, but I think we certainly want to try always to, under the Steinbrenner leadership, to make this, the mecca of baseball, and also to make this, an amazing and enjoyable experience for players and their families alike. So if we take care of stuff like that, that recruiting effort, becomes somewhat automatic. But hey, there's 29 other teams with tremendous opportunities and cities out there and people in their own right and operations that they run. So that's why, it's always a competition.
And to whatever extent you're able to, could you give us the blow by blow on how this came together? It's a pretty historic type trade.
I mean, I had a lot of conversations at the trade deadline, actually, with AJ Preller on Soto, and we're not talking about Verdugo with this, but I actually had trade deadline conversations with Boston on Verdugo, and so in both players' cases, whether it's going back to Washington or San Diego or Boston, with all these players involved, we've had these efforts weren't the first attempts to acquire these players, but yeah, right out of the gate, it started. Omar Minaya, who used to work with AJ Preller, and I met with AJ out in Scottsdale. The make sure that AJ knew how serious we were. We were very vocal in public that we're looking for not just one left-handed outfield bat, but two, especially with the Jason Dominguez injury. And so therefore we're trying to find that in a marketplace that was limited. And so we knew it would be a challenge regardless, but we attacked this winter like every other winter or trade deadline in season. We put our best foot forward to see if we can pull down something that's of interest to us. And so we've had a lot of conversations, and I think both teams in the end got exactly what they would be looking for. It hurt a lot on our end to give up some real, pieces, but you have to give to get, as you all know. And so we certainly imported one of the best hitters that the game has today. And also, don't sleep on Grisham. He's a nice, quality, we believe championship caliber piece as well, that adds to our mix and gives our manager Aaron Boone a lot more choices than he had before this move.
Thank you.
Next to Eric Boland.
Brian, you kind of stated a little bit getting one of the best hitters in the game, but and it's an obvious answer, but it sounds better coming out of your mouth. How much better does Soto make your offense?
Significantly better, obviously, no doubt about it. It's on a scouting just alone. How many teams can run out? On a scouting scale, a pro scouting scale of 20 to 80. How many teams are running out 2 8s in their outfield? When a judge is Soto. I know that we saw that iteration put together a little bit recently in the last few years in Anaheim with Trout and Ohtani, but it's hard to run out multiple 8s in any category, whether it's outfield, infield, or even on your 26-man roster. So it significantly upgrades us without a doubt. And the great thing about the crazy 8s is that one's right-handed, one's left-handed, and so that creates a tougher lineup to navigate for the opposing pitchers. But it's a team sport. We got to obviously have a lot of other people pulling on the rope at the same time in the right direction. So we still have more work to do, and we know that, but we are really excited by what those what this acquisition can do for both balance and impact. Certainly excited by the opportunity to bring him here. We think, it's another manifestation of the Steinbrenner, legacy. I think George Steinbrenner always felt that, the best players in the world should play here for the New York Yankees. And I think that was always what he tried to accomplish. And had a lot of success along the way, not always being able to pull them off, but constantly trying to do that. And obviously Hal Steinbrenner and Jenny and Jessica have continued those efforts. And so, Juan Soto is the latest example of that, of their efforts to try to bring the greatest, most talented baseball players the world can provide to play and call home here in the Bronx, New York, for our fan base. And so we're excited by the opportunities, this provides for us as we move into the 24 season. And we're hopeful that his impact along with his teammates can provide some great baseball that plays deep into October for our fans.
And then Brian, who is your everyday center fielder for at least the first couple of months of the season or whenever Dominguez comes back?
Well, we'll see how the season plays out. But if today was opening day, Judge would be out in center field. So by the current alignment that we have, and he's exceptional at that. And so we had a lot of conversations with that scenario. But I think we're better protected, in a lot of different ways. Whether you're facing a right-hander one day versus a left-hander another, versus the grind of a season that plays out, or injuries that obviously unfortunately occur along the way. I think that we have a lot more choices today to navigate your lineup decisions for the manager and the coaches downstairs than we would if we hadn't pulled off these more recent acquisitions of Verdugo, Grisham, and Soto.
Jack Curry.
Brian, when you make a deal of this magnitude, I'm sure there are some highs and lows across the last 72 or even more hours. What was the toughest part of making this Soto trade come to fruition?
obviously getting to a yes, getting something that we could live with versus at the same time something they could live with. So first, AJ is an amazing negotiator. He's one of the game's best trade architects, as we've seen by the body of his work over the course of time, and so I know that he's forced to reconfigure his team in a championship caliber mode, and so he certainly has now put himself in a better position while he reconfigures to do a lot of different other things to make sure his team is a good spot entering the 24 season. But the conversations were many. There's a lot of twists and turns in it. There's so much involvement, as you know, when you pull deals off like this from top to bottom, obviously ownership every step of the way being willing to allow you to pull in, with risk, pull in a contract like this on a 1-year basis. It's a lot of money that he has on a 1-year basis coming in arbitration, plus give up talent. But it fills a need. We've been trying to fill needs, Lonnie. So I feel like the way we've gone about our operations is no different. We're always trying to attack our areas of need, but whether they're able to be accessible or line up with matches, that's the more difficult situation. And there clearly was a match to be made here if we were willing to, go all in. And thankfully, the Steinbrenner DNA has always been there about being willing to go all in. And so thankfully in this particular conversation, we were able to match up. In the more recent conversation also with Boston, we were able to match up. Even though there were so many conversations prior that we've had with Boston the last 2 years on Verdugo, and that wasn't the case, but we were able to both find something we could live with this time around. And we didn't blink there. And I think we're a better team for it right now.
And I know he's only been a Yankee for a day. And I know you said your goal is to make the Bronx the mecca of baseball. I also know Scott Boris's history, but how invested do you anticipate being this season to keep Soto beyond 2024?
Right now, we're focused on the here and now. I know there's going to be obviously those type of conversations, for any player, whether you're a young player on the roster looking for, a long-term extension or a player that's on an expiring contract. Verdugo's on an expiring contract. Obviously, Soto's on an expiring contract. You got Garrett Cole's, I think, got a situation in his contract towards the end where, I think there's an opt-out where you could put an extra year on. There's so many of these variables that are in play, and that, clearly it's always fluid. You're always taking everything under advisement, staying connected with ownership. But we're just very proud of the fact that we can call him a Yankee at this time, and with the full intentions of, again, taking a shot at a title, and that navigating the American League East and the American League that obviously hosts the defending world champs and the Texas Rangers. It's a challenge, no doubt about it, but we want to be up for that challenge. So obviously importing great players to add to the ones you already have is, certainly going to be helping in that process.
There's a bunch of hands up. Just for all those with the hands up, I'm gravitating towards those media members who cover us on a regular basis. So I'm not purposely overlooking you. Just know that the limited time that we have with Cash, I am going to focus on the media contingent that covers us regularly. Chris Kirshner, please unmute.
Hey, Cash, given the amount of pitching depth that you've lost in the past few days, do you now look at that as your biggest need moving forward this offseason?
Yes.
And then have you been given any assurances by Hal that payroll can be higher than last season if need be?
I wouldn't comment on payroll, but other than to restate that the Steinbrenner family is constantly committed and pouring back into this franchise with the intent and effort to have a world championship banner flying again here in the Bronx. That's always there. So, but pitching is definitely an area of focus without a doubt. It was before these deals, but clearly, your point being, since we offboarded pitching to make these deals, onboarding pitching is going to be important, no doubt about it.
Ron Blum, please unmute, and thank you for having video. Even though I don't have video today, I'm being punished.
Cash, Given the righty-lefty splits of Verdugo and Grisham, do you see their time in the batting order, if not positionally, as some sort of platoon?
My initial thought on Verdugo is no, and in Grisham's case, obviously I think he's going to be a weapon to be used as needed, and but ultimately Aaron Boone's going to make those calls. So I think I think there's just power in numbers, and we've elevated our outfield class significantly by these moves, and so Boone's going to have a lot of good decisions to make, and that's a good thing. So, I would have to defer mostly to Aaron on that, regardless.
And also, as you went through the trade talks, was it important from your side to keep Volpe and Dominguez out of any possible trades?
Yes. Yeah, we value them a great deal, and understandably so, and I think the industry recognizes that, but it didn't stop them from asking, regardless. That's all part of the process too.
Thank you.
Caldera, looks like you've moved to Nashville. Go ahead and unmute, Pete.
Right, I'm here for the long term. Brian, just following up on Chris's question, would you say you're in the market for more than one starter right now?
We're in the market for pitching, see if we can reinforce it. We like the pitching we have, but we also recognize that if we can add to it, it's important to do. And but whether rotation, bullpen, combo, all the above, from an insurance standpoint, or something established that you can plug and play with, we're going to continue conversations in that arena. We've been having those regardless of these deals, and those will continue.
Go next to Dave Lennon.
Hey, Cash, you mentioned that you had been kind of on Soto to varying degrees since last year's deadline. Was there a point where you guys were kind of like, he fits everything that we need and this has to happen? Was it after the meetings you had in October in Tampa? When you talked to Preller in Scottsdale, was there kind of that moment where you guys just had to decide that you had to have Soto?
No, it was never that. It's more like, can you get to a point where you have the opportunity to get Soto? We had a lot of conversations at the deadline, and they chose not to move him, but they shared a lot of information at that time with us about players of interest that was a precursor to building what eventually has taken place now. So even though we were unable to acquire Soto at the deadline, the healthy dialogue that we were having with AJ Preller, gave us a roadmap to kind of pick up where we left off, starting in Scottsdale. So I think, and speaking for any team, if everybody would want a Juan Soto. It's just, can you actually put yourself in a position to like, wow, this is actually something that can happen. And it was clear by the momentum of these conversations. We had a good sit down in Scottsdale, then I think things got interrupted, and understandably so. I think the Yankees' condolences to the death of Peter Seidler. So the amazing owner of the San Diego Padres, obviously, with his passing, certainly was a tragic event. And then the manager interviews that the Padres are going through when they lost Bob Melvin. I think that all those combinations of things kind of put everything understandably on hold. And then maybe a week before these meetings started, it started to pick back up, and what the definition is of what plot or what course they were going to plot and what their needs were going to be after things settled down. But again, I think it was a springboard from conversations we had all summer, because they weren't sure if they were going to stay in it and try to finish off and squeak into the playoffs, or do they cut their losses and live to fight another day. We were facing the same scenario. We were trying to add, when you're in those no man lands, it becomes difficult. And so they ultimately wound up holding on to Soto and determining whether they're going to move him in the winter or not. And now they have.
Great. Thanks, Cash.
Max Goodman.
Hey, Brian, talking about the players that you traded away between the Soto and Verdugo trades and the existing depth that you still have, what does all of this say about the Yankees pitching department?
I think our pitching department, our player development department, I think they do a great job. I think we have really good people. We have scouting directors with their scouts on the amateur side and international and domestic doing an amazing job of onboarding talent. And then the player development system that Kevin Reese runs with his various coaching staffs, I think, yeah, they do an exceptional job. And they're in the most important key to all that is making sure that everybody's in alignment, because the connectivity between amateur scouting and development, knowing what can be developed, what can be enhanced, what can be improved upon, versus knowing to stay away from what can't. And I think those are all, areas that we have significantly improved on in the last, maybe 6 years. And so, situations like this, and then unfortunately the Rule 5 where we got slammed, are just more, reinforcements or examples of we got people doing good work in a lot of categories for us. And it allows us to, at times, line up. And we're always trying to line up, but trying to line up is difficult regardless whether you have a lot of players or not. But it's certainly easier to do if you have a lot of players to do it with.
Thank you.
We're going to take a couple more that'll get us to about a half hour with Cash. Jake Mintz, please unmute.
Hi, Cash. Thanks for the time. I'm just curious, is there any concern about Aaron Judge in center field, given that he's coming off a significant lower body injury?
We think he's fine. We think he's resolved. We think that issue's behind him. And obviously, if it wasn't, we wouldn't have been playing the way he was in the second half, even when we started to fade. So we think that's a resolved issue. And now, obviously, with the winter on top of finishing strong, of rest, that it's not an issue. So I know Booney's already talked to Judgy prior to this. I know he's excited. And hey, that might mean center field's in play for you. And we'll see how the rest of the winter plays out. A lot of things could always happen, but as of right now, I think if opening day was hitting today, he would certainly be running out there in center, which I know he loves. I think if you put true serum in him, that's what he'd want to do regardless. But he can, he's exceptional in all added categories in that area. So, but we'll see. But I'm not currently worried about him health-wise. But that's the opportunity it provides when you have a lot of depth, that if we do have injuries that hit our roster, depending on who it is, no matter who it is, that we're better positioned now than we were maybe 48 hours ago.
The last one from Gary, just for planning purposes, everybody, I don't have any further Zooms this week scheduled or planned. Obviously, we'll keep you abreast of any availabilities that might take place next week, but I don't know where we stand for next week as of right now. Gary, go ahead.
Cash, 2 for you, actually. First one might be a little obvious, but after adding 3 outfielders, do you consider your outfield set at this point?
I think so. Again, I'm open-minded, constantly willing to, if somebody has an idea that somehow improves our roster that currently is, as it currently is constituted, and they want to knock on the door regarding something I already have that I'm extremely comfortable with, we're willing to listen, but yeah, I'm not trying to do anything in that area at this stage. I feel like it's kind of set up.
Gotcha. And then with Verdugo, he got benched a couple of times this past year. Just any concerns there with the makeup, and how seriously did you guys look into that and vet that?
Yeah, I mean, we do that with all the players that we try to, that we're talking about or trying to acquire, and we certainly did a deep dive there. And he's a gamer. We've seen him obviously within the rivalry. I don't think this New York situation is going to be a problem for him. I think he embraces the big stage. I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people that had been there or currently are there, or have passed through there to get, but that's normal with all our transactions. So, we're looking forward to, obviously made the transaction for a reason, because we think he's going to make us better and have an impact for us. And so we're excited to have him.